Welcome to the Black Business Podcast, where we help Black entrepreneurs, Black business owners, and Black consumers connect their Black dollars. Now, here's your host, Jenny Jones.
Hello, it's great to be with you today. I am Jenny Jones, the host of the Black Business Podcast, and joining me today is Miss Brianna Phillips of Sacramento, California, with Oakala Law and Mediation firm. Today's show is brought to you by the $5marketinggarage.com, where all of your online digital marketing needs are met inside the garage. I'm super excited to have this lady join us today. She is on the come up. Okay. She has got this stuff together, and I'm glad she decided to join us here today on the Black Business Podcast, where we connect entrepreneurs, small businesses, and consumers with their Black dollars. Listen, without further ado, please welcome Miss Brianna Phillips of Oakala Law and Mediation firm. Hope I got the name right. Welcome to the show, ma'am. How you doing today?
I'm doing good.
So can you give us the official pronunciation of it? Because I'm sure I butchered it, because I don't know. I'll be doing that sometimes.
Okay. My name is Brianna Phillips. I am a California attorney, and I am the owner of Oakala Law and Mediation firm.
Okay, great. And thank you for clearing that up for me. So now, as I do with all the guests, when they come on the show, I say, hey, listen, let's take an elevator ride. Let's go to the 47th floor. Let the people know who you are and what you're about. So tell us, what do you do, man?
Okay, so like I just said, I'm a California licensed attorney, and I just opened up my own firm. It's called Oakala Law and Mediation firm. The basis of the firm is about generational wealth, especially helping minorities. So the areas that I cover are business law, which include copyright and trademarks, also estate planning, which is wills and trusts, and I also do personal injury law. So basically, the whole idea is to have the generational wealth. So if you have a business, you want to make sure that you're putting it in your will or your trust. If you have a business, you make sure that you're protecting it with your trademarks and your copyrights. If you have a business, you're making sure you're getting the proper licensing and everything that you need in order to have a legitimate business. Because you can have a business, but it may not necessarily be legitimate. And then that is something that you can't pass on to generations to come.
Wow, Brianna, man. I wish I could stand up where I'm at, but I'm applauding you because you have no idea how timely you are. And that's what I love about this show is people say, man, why are you asking me to be on the show? I said, listen, I want unicorns on my show, right? I want people that people say, wait a minute, there's a sister doing that? There's a brother actually doing that? And I'll be like, yeah, legitimately. Right. And the challenge is you go in all these social media rooms and all that, and somebody's selling Ray Ray's booty cream or whatever and all that other stuff. And people are not, there's a lot of people that's not serious. Right. But then there's people genuinely saying, hey, I really genuinely want to spend my Black dollars with a professional that's on the come up that can cover the needs and areas that I need. And Brianna, yes. So you say, listen, I have generational wealth in a box. So Tell me what the vision was behind this. Man, I love it. You are so timely. Ooh, you're so timely. So go ahead. Yeah, what's the idea behind that?
So the idea behind it is that I am, of course, a Black person, which is also a minority. And
That's pretty obvious, right?
Yeah, I am the first lawyer in my family. And even in my family, my dad owned an auto shop for a minute, and I'm not sure he kind of did everything himself versus having an attorney that he can go and ask for. And eventually he stopped dealing with the shop. But I feel like if he would have had an attorney, he might have been able to run it for a little bit longer. He's in his prime type of job now, so maybe he doesn't want to run the shop. But I feel like if he would have had a little bit more guidance in setting up the business as far as the loans that he could have gotten or just funding it himself, it could have ran a little bit better. And then not even that is just an example. I see a lot of people starting businesses in this pandemic, but I see that most of the time they don't have the proper license and the proper permits, and I just don't want minorities getting in any more trouble.
So we're gonna come back to that. We're definitely gonna come back to that. But what I want to concentrate on this initial question is the vision, right? And I think you were kind of telling me, hey, I saw this, I saw that, but I'm talking about this is a vision to say, hey, I want to do a generational wealth vision, right? So I'm talking about the vision to include the things that you're including at this particular point, the vision. Let's just concentrate on the vision, because we're going to dig into some of those other areas, but I want to know where this vision came from. I love it though. Where did you, yeah.
Okay, yeah, so that is where the vision came from, is that well, even in the climate today, you see a lot of Black people don't really own anything, or a lot of minorities don't really own anything. Mm-hmm. So my vision is to go ahead and help them make sure that their businesses are legitimate, make sure that the wealth and assets that they acquired during their lifetime are protected, so that the generations to come can build, and maybe we can have our children growing up from a better starting point like other races might start from.
And so that was your motivation to start something. Said, listen, I want to start a boutique law firm. Mm-hmm. And that boutique law firm is going to be, I help all races naturally, right? But my race need a lot of help. Now, with some challenges in our race, right? Because we don't, insurance and attorneys, we don't do that because we don't know. Here's what I will say on that, because I used to sell insurance. Mm-hmm. So here's what I'll say on that is, I think we don't understand the magnitude or the liability exposure to not paying that price up front. Tell me out a little bit about that, because now if you say, hey, listen, I'm gonna hang my hat trying to help us, but we got to understand it too. So tell me about that. Do they really know, or they don't know? That's what's holding us back, or what's going on? What do you think?
A lot of people that I've talked to, they don't really know until they hear someone talking about it, or it happens to them. And now all of a sudden they thought that they can sell chicken wings out the back of their truck. And now all of a sudden they have all these fines coming towards them, realizing, oh, I need an actual establishment to sell this, or I need this proper permit to sell it out of my house, and I'm only limited to certain things. So people don't really know until it starts happening to them. And especially in the wills and trust era, a lot of Black people do not get wills, the basic will. They don't have that. So then their heirs are losing a lot of their assets, if they had any assets, through the probate system.
So let's here, because man, you are getting ready I'm telling you about to blow up. We're going to blow you up. This channel is in a good way, right? I'm talking to an attorney. I don't want you to be, oh, is he threatening me or whatever? I'm being funny. What I mean by, I know you're a sister too. So what I mean by, we talking about just coming up, because a lot of people, let me give you a defense for our people. How does that sound? Let me give you, because I used to sell insurance. Let me give you a peek into the world of a person that may not understand. Because no one really looked like you,
right,
to come and present to us. Mm-hmm. Even when it came to insurance, when I would sit down with people and I was like, well, yeah, so if Johnny doesn't come home tomorrow, tell me what you're going to do. And they're like, I don't know. I'm like, right. So insurance is not a bad thing. It's a transfer of risk, right? Mm-hmm. And now you have the whole GoFundMe and all of those. Time out for that. Let's start setting up our assets and protecting and transferring generational wealth like everyone else does it, right? And that's where you came. So in their defense, they just didn't know, and they always thought somebody's out to beat them, because 9 out of 10 times they was correct, right? Right. People didn't have your best interest. So somebody in your community that looks like you, 9 out of 10 times we're gonna have your best interest. And I think our challenge has been in our community is people say, man, you're high. Let me tell you the reason why we hire. So if you're listening, and I'm gonna come back to you. This is the reason why we hire. We're not high. That's just really the true services. But a lot of it is we don't get enough business as it is. So we got to cover our own licensing, our own liability, our own state mandates put on us just to be able to cover that cost. So that's the reason why it may appear that because we're like, listen, this is the true cost of it. So talk to me a little bit about that. Is it education, or is that what's going on there?
Yeah, the education. Are you talking about for the cost, and when people come to us, they think that would cost a little more?
Yeah, give me a little background on that, and kind of share with people what's going on with that.
Yeah, so when you're getting professional services, of course, they're going to cost a lot. But when you're dealing with a minority-owned boutique law firm or a minority-owned insurance company, something like that, you're getting full attention to your matter versus going with a bigger company that may seem like they're charging less, but they're really passing off your work onto people with lower education levels. And you're not getting as much detail and attention to your case. You're just kind of like another number on the book. So the good thing about going with a minority firm is that you're getting all of the attention. They're making sure all your ducks are in order and they're not skipping things for you. So it may seem like it costs more, but a lot of the times the bigger firms, I know for lawyers at least, cost more because they're not doing flat fees. I'm doing flat fees, so you know exactly how much you're paying versus a big firm that's going to say, hey, I'm charging $300, $400 an hour, and I'm just trying to meet my hour quota, so I'm going to be charging for every little thing that I do, when you might not want to pay $190 because you wrote my name on a paper, right? And so I don't think necessarily that as far as in professional services, we cost more. I think people just don't know if they go to other firms or they get a firm that is charging less, that you're not getting a lawyer doing your work, or you're getting a firm that's charging more and now you're just getting charged for everything under the sun.
I think that's good information. I think we don't know that. And as I started, as my business started to grow and I started doing different things, I started finding out that people do pass your stuff off. And you're like, listen, hey, if you still work with me, grow with me, become a household name for me, pass my name on, refer me, I'm still going to be touching your work. I'm still going to be involved in your work. Now there is going to be a level where you start going to the next level. You say, listen, I do want a screener to kind of look at your stuff, make sure your stuff is filled out correctly. And then I'll look at it and take it on. But I think that's important because when you go with a big law firm, right, half of them, they have their paralegals doing it and but they're giving these billable hours. You're saying, hey, listen, I'm putting packages together for a flat rate, no hidden fees. Talk to me a little bit about that. So what would an actual package like, say, most people that I'm running into, right, because I'm in the finance, wealth building and real estate arena, and most people are looking for someone to transfer their risk through a wills and trust or something like that. What would a basic family trust, what would that look like as far as cost? You don't have to be exact, but you can just kind of give me a range. That it ranges anywhere from here to there.
Okay. For California, a trust will usually start at about 1,500 and up. And it just depends on how many assets you have. And then it also depends on what area you're in, because if you're in like a little town, your trust, they may start at $1,000. But depending on where you are, the prices, it could change. So I would say anywhere between, I would say 1,500 being in the Sacramento area and up, and that will depend on how many assets you have.
So now some people are like, whoa, 1,500. What will you say? Well, listen, 1,500 is peanuts compared to what. Talk to me on the other end of that, because I'm the guy. Oh, 1,500. Whoa, that's a lot. And then you'd say
it's not a lot, because if you think about it, let's say you don't get a trust, and let's say you don't get a will either, and your assets go through probate. Of course, you won't know about it because you won't be here anymore. That's why your stuff is going through probate, but your family is going to lose money. So let's say you had a trust, everything, you avoid probate. Most of the things don't need to go through probate, and having a trust prevents it from going through probate. So you already saved that money. If you go through probate, you don't get a will, you don't get a trust, or you have a will, but it still needs to go through probate, you're paying attorney's fees, which can be 5% of your estate. That may not sound a lot until you have an estate that is worth $400,000, and now you're paying your attorney $100,000. That's less for your heirs, on top of whatever creditors you had, however much money that is, on top of paying your executor fees and things like that. So you started off with $400,000. Now you're down to maybe, let's say, $150,000 after all of these things are paid, versus if you would have got a trust for $1,500, now your estate has $400,000 in it.
Man, Brianna, you better stop. Because people not knowing that, people's like, oh, that's just like insurance, right? I always refer this back to insurance, because these things, it's like, are you not getting this?
Mm-hmm.
Are you not getting that you're trading pennies for dollars, right?
Right.
It's like, well, I don't want to pay $125 a month in premiums. Like, yeah, but you pay 160 for cable,
Right.
right? You know what I'm saying? Versus your family, they say, well, it doesn't benefit me. Like, it's not supposed to be benefit you. It's supposed to be legacy building. And we wonder why each generation is clawing and clawing, trying to get the even playing field when other generations are like, hey, they already, if you're running around a track, they're already at the 200 meters and you
Right.
just, the gun is just going off for you. Right. And that's, I've seen that metaphor somebody had is like, man, person's already around the track halfway and now they telling you you can go.
Right.
And you're like, really? You know, and that's really by leaving generational wealth. They're already on the 200-yard mark and you just get ready to leave. And so it's about us being, I don't know if it's selfish. I'm going to err on the side of just education. And so do you educate your clients before? Listen, this is what you're doing. This is the basic. Give me the basics in maybe a 2 sentences or less, the difference between a will and a trust. I know, but I want you just, why have you on the phone? And the reason why it's going to be important, because I think you're going to talk about it even on the expo. Just give me like 2 sentences. Why is a will less inferior to a trust?
Okay, so a will is less inferior to a trust because it is going through that thing called probate, which is a court system. Your will in California going through probate is probably going to take about at least a year or sometimes 6 months to a year to get done, but the average time is about a year. Versus your trust, your heirs have direct access to your trust at the moment that you die. So if you have a will and you don't have any insurance, who's going to pay for the funeral? You have to go through the court and ask them, hey, can I have some money to pay for my person's funeral? Versus if you have a trust, you already have that money there. You can go ahead and handle that stuff and give you the time to grieve versus, oh, let me be stressed out about finding more money. And I don't know what to do because I have no money versus, oh, here's the money. Let's handle this. And now I have my time to grieve.
Wow. So now I'm going to help people out with this as well. So will it cost you what? Because you gave me the average cost of a trust, which is $1,500. So will is what?
And just it will depend who you go to. It could be anywhere from about, I think, $800 to up to the $1,500 and maybe more depending on how many assets you have, how many beneficiaries you have. And then with that price, you're also getting your power of attorney and your medical derivative and everything like that.
So already right there, if you can get a will for 800 and you can get a trust for 1,500, there's always there's a level that you're going to get with that. And I used to explain to my clients, listen, a living trust is as though you're still living, you're making decisions from the grave, right? It's like this decision, I want this, I want Ray to get this, I want Pookie to get this, right? I'm being funny, right? But you know, this is the Black Business Podcast, right? But you can make decisions and you're from the grave making decisions as though you're living, which is a living trust. That's the difference, right? And so, and one of the most powerful things, and you'll talk about this, I know you'll talk about this more on the expo, but probate is something I think definitely try to, when you do have your, when you do your talk, I don't really know what you're going to talk about, but I think it's important for people to understand probate and the power of avoiding probate, right? That can mean thousands, right? It can mean hundreds of thousands, right? And so that's important. So listen, so let's talk about some of these businesses, because I know you get in, you do have, your boutique is like, hey, we're generational wealth. I think it's important. I want you to, not in too much detail, but kind of tell me, I think you used to work for a larger firm and then say, hey, you know, the passion for my people, kind of talk about, because you went to Grambling, right?
Yes.
Man, I was a kid and I wanted to go to Grambling. I almost made it to Grambling. I met Eddie Robinson and I didn't have my grades together. Now, that's another story. That's a whole nother podcast, but I wasn't about my business and I was supposed to actually go to Grambling. So I kind of inserted that in because I didn't take care of my business, but that school is near and dear to me. So tell us about your vision of, I used to work for a big firm. I kind of figured out how they was making the sausage, but I felt my people were kind of, talk to me about that.
Yeah, so it's a big firm. They're making all of these thousands of millions of dollars a month, and they're paying the small people like me pennies. They're paying their clients once they get the settlement pennies, and they're keeping all the money. I don't know how much the upper higher people get paid, but it's like, okay, they're basically sometimes in a business just to benefit themselves. Versus helping the people. And then I dealt with a lot of clients that were upset. Well, like I did a lot of personal injury, and they were upset like, hey, how come you guys are getting more money than I'm getting? And the firm is just like, hey, that's just how the chips fell versus, okay, well, your medical bills were high, so that took a lot of your money. And then now our fees are high, that's taking a lot of your money. And this is what's left over for you, instead of like working with the client and maybe giving them equal the amount of the firm or something like that. It's more about, hey, well, we did all the work, so we keep the money. And I just thought that was like super unfair. There were other people in the firm that were, of course, like assistants or something that also thought that was unfair. And I just didn't feel like we were helping people. And a lot of the people that were there were minorities and really didn't know how things worked. So they just kind of had to deal with it, versus if they have someone on the front end telling them, hey, this is what's going to happen, this may be your result, instead of hiding the ball, which is what I noticed. A lot of bigger firms, they hide the ball in the beginning to make sure that you sign up with them. And then at the end, they're like, hey, well, you signed the retainer. Versus me, I tend to give you a lot of details in the beginning to make sure you make the best informed decision that you can make. And then at the end, I feel like that should lead to more happy clients than upset clients.
Wow. Brianna, listen, I'm telling you, I saw you in another social media post or something like that. He's like, hey, listen, I'm going to be doing this. I'm going to be doing that. I said, this is a sister I need to get to know, because she's out here trying to do it. She's out here on faith, right? And we're going to need to support this sister, for the simple fact is she's doing this for us. Yeah. She could have had a cush salary job, right? Albeit it wasn't a big salary because the big dogs were getting all the money. But she says, hey, I'm going to take a chance on us. I'm going to take a chance on our community and try to educate us and put us in the right light. Now, I'm going to be honest, vulnerable with you. I did that. Mm-hmm. And, I could be way further along had I stayed where I was at. But my passion for my people, the passion for my people to get it right. I can go to bed at night feeling that I did the things that I needed to do to take care of my community. And I felt the responsibility and the obligation, right? And even I'm a faith-driven person, and I always know that I could do you wrong all day long, but I know somebody is going to come looking for me, and they know my address. And that always stuck with me. And if I didn't feel good about what they were doing up top, that's why I opened my own firm for that same very reason. And I applaud you for that, because you are taking a risk, right? Mm-hmm. I think more is going to be, I think we start with education. That's why I wanted to do the expos, so people can see, hey, I didn't know that. I didn't know I need to do this. Yeah, you need to do those types of things. So I applaud you for that. So is there anything, so for small businesses like formation, let's talk about that, because let's talk about the liability. And as we kind of bring to a close, I kind of wanted to hit on this a little bit. Let's talk about the pure liability of running a sole proprietor, whether it's Ray Ray's Wings out of the back of my, I don't know why I like using Ray Ray. He's a typical dude that live in the hood, right? The Ray Ray's Wings that he's doing out of his kitchen as a sole proprietor versus Ray Ray's Wings LLC or something like that. Give me a serious liability picture with that.
Okay, so with a sole proprietorship, you're completely exposed and liable. So let's say Ray Ray sold some chicken that wasn't all the way cooked. Someone got sick about it. They sue Ray Ray. They can get Ray Ray's house, Ray Ray's cars, Ray Ray's kids. No, not their kids. But you can get everything that Ray Ray owns, okay? Everything. Versus if he had an LLC, he is protected to an extent. It will be limited to the assets of the company. So if Ray Ray owns a building, they can get that building. If he only has $300 in the bank as an LLC, then they can get that $300. But let's say he has personal money of $300,000. So then the people are, of course, going to want to sue him for that $300,000 that he has in his personal bank account. With the LLC, they can't get to that unless they can show that he was operating under a facade of the LLC. So this is the problem that I have with a lot of people getting LLCs, and they're just like, hey, I have an LLC, and that's it. They didn't get the business bank account. They didn't get the EIN number. They don't have an operating agreement, or they have an operating agreement and they're not following that operating agreement. So if you're a sole person with an LLC and you have your operating agreement and you're not following it, and the person can show that you're not following it, in court, they can pierce that corporate veil and sue you for that personal assets that you have. So make sure you're following the rules of LLC if you're going to get one.
Brianna, you have said a mouthful. I love the fact that you found time to meet with us here on the Black Business Podcast. Listen, so are there any parting words for entrepreneurs, small business owners, or consumers? What are your parting words to them? Because they're going to hear more from you at our expo. And I want you to give out your promotional code, but I want to hear your parting words first. Then we're going to do your promotional codes. Then we're going to tell people where they can find you at. So let's go. Give us your parting words.
Okay, so I just want to say thank you for having me here today. And if you're doing a small business, or even if you're just a person looking for a wills and trust, just make sure you're keeping track of everything, have everything in order. So when you do go see a lawyer, or you do decide to have those things done for you, that everything is in order. And just keep going with your business, keep going, and believe in yourself, really. If you're at a job and you don't like it, make sure you find something that you have a passion for and start a business about it. But make sure it's all the way in order.
All right. And so go ahead and give them your promotional code that if they connect, and it's a little something in it for them, I think maybe a discount or something, but what's your discount promotional code?
Yeah, so for the Black Business Expo, my promotional code is Oakala, OAKLAW, and it gives you a discount when you buy your ticket. Going to the Black Business Expo, there's a whole bunch of different professionals giving you tips and tricks of how to run your business.
Okay. So now where can we find you as we close this up? Okay. Where can they find you?
So I am on Facebook. It's under my Facebook page is called Oakala Law and Mediation Firm. And I'm also on Instagram at Oakala Law, and Oakala is spelled OAKALA and then law. And then my website is not up and running yet. It's under construction. So just wait on the website. But once the website is live, I will post it on both that Facebook page and that Instagram account.
Okay, great. Listen, we've learned a lot today here from you. I can't wait to hear what you got to say at the expo. Listen, people, the expo, the VIP tickets is going to be the VIP tickets right now, just only $20, right? You're going to hear from 22 professionals. That's less than $1 per speaker. I equated it out, and that's about $8,000 worth of speaking and consulting you're going to hear. $8,000, and you're going to hear it all for $20. I think if you use her promotional code, you're going to be able to save a little bit on that as well. Listen, you guys wanted it. The Black Business Podcast brought it to you. So now it's here. Please continue to support us. You can find us at The Black Business Podcast on Facebook. You can find us on YouTube if you search for The Black Business Podcast. You can also find us at the Black Business Expo. That's Black Business Online Expo. And you can find shopblackbusinesspodcast.com. You can find all of our guests there. Listen, it's been great to have you here on the show, Brianna. I can't wait to hear more from you. I got a couple of referrals I want to send your way as well. I want to make sure that you arrive and that you survive in this environment and stepping out on your own with faith. So I appreciate you finding time for our show, and thank you for joining us. Any last words?
No, just thank you for having me. Thank you for giving me the opportunity, and I can't wait to help other people that are listening to the Black Business Podcast, and I hope everyone attends the Black Business Expo.
All right. Thank you. You've heard it right there from her. You guys take care. This has been Jenny Jones, your host. You guys take care. Peace. God bless.
Thank you for listening to the Black Business Podcast, where we help Black entrepreneurs, Black business owners, and Black consumers connect their Black dollars. Hosted by Jenny Jones. If you like what you heard, be sure to like, share, and subscribe to our podcast. If you want to learn more about all our podcast guests and spend your Black dollars with them, visit our online store at shopblackbusinesspodcast.com.